I have 5:30. So we'll get this party started. Jen, would you take roll, please?
President Smolley,
Here.
Director Russ,
Here.
and Director Foltz.
Here.
All right, and Director Lang already let us know she would not be here today, and I haven't heard from Director Largate.
Have you heard
I
anything?
did hear from Brian that he was gonna be here tonight,
Okay,
so.
perfect. Let
But
me just-
it's 5:30.
There's a lot of traffic.
We'll get started. He can join us.
Whenever.
Yeah,
Okay.
when he gets in. I see two members of the public online, nobody in the room. Does either member of the public want to comment on the items that are on the closed session agenda in front of us? Seeing none, we can then transition to the closed session. And proceed with that.
All right.
You're unmuted.
Thanks. I have 6:30, so I'd like to convene this meeting of the San Lorenzo Valley Water District for August 21st, 2025. Mia,
President Smalley,
yes, here.
Director Larday,
Here.
Director Russ,
Here.
and Director, sorry, Foltz.
Here. And
Vice President Lane's going to be here, not here today.
okay, thank you. Okay, so any changes to the agenda
There are no changes to the agenda.
this evening? Okay. We have, there were two items in the closed session, and we have information to report on both of those. The existing litigation that we have on the first one. I'd like our attorney to comment on that. Barbara?
Yeah, the report out on that item is the board approved council to take certain action on its behalf by a unanimous vote of the 4 present members on closed session item number 4A, which is the Holloway litigation. Once that action is finalized by council, the action will be made public and reported in the minutes of this meeting.
Okay, thank you. And on the other item, the liability claims that were filed against the district. Jason, Barbara?
I can do it.
Okay,
So the board met in closed session on a property damage claim. Filed with Mr. Edward Jones, voted unanimously 4-0 with Vice President Lang being absent to settle the claim in the amount of $497.85.
okay. We'll move on to oral communications. This portion is for members of the public who wish to comment on something that's within the purview of the district, but is not on the agenda this evening. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. Does any member of the public wish to address the board? If so, in the room, please step to the mic.
Hello, and thank you for letting me be here. My name is Carol McEwen. I'm the ASME union representative. I represent the classified unit here at San Lorenzo. We've been working with Garrett and his team. And we're here because I sent an email about a month ago saying, you know, hey, we're going to be here tonight, and we either want to be here to congratulate you on doing a great job or express our concern. And I kind of feel that we're a little bit in the middle of that. So I'm going to give you, don't kill me, people. I'm going to give you a little bit of grace. It's been a rough 2.5 years that we've been waiting to get this settled and done. These people that are standing back here, they work for this community and they do a good job. They work through fires, mudslides, inclement weather that's bizarre. And they don't complain. They show up without being asked when it's an emergency. They just show up because they know that the community needs to be taken care of. And they care about this place. They live here, they work here, they play here. They have children, they have expenses, and that needs to get addressed. It can't continue with the can getting kicked down the road. In fairness, I've worked with Mark and Jason, and welcome, Jason. We appreciate you. I've worked with Barbara. I've worked with several directors. Is that your title? I always mess it up. Now trying to get this done and work collaboratively with everybody. And now what we're here for is we're here to ask for your respect. I've heard through the grapevine that you instructed Jason to come back with a proposal, a counter to ours. We're happy about that. We're hoping it doesn't take longer than necessary. I mean, we're kind of right, we should be at the end of this process. So hopefully we can get that soon. review it and meet with your team and come to a conclusion and get this done, because it's better for everyone. And I don't think that you mean to be disrespectful to your employees. I think you do care about them, and I just think it's time that we're fair and we move this show along just a little quicker. So thank you very much for hearing me.
Okay, thank you. I do want to respond to that just briefly. It's not on the agenda. We can't discuss it. But from a timing perspective, the board does appreciate staff and understands the timing that we have had the Gallagher report. The board was not able to meet on August 7th,
Yeah.
7th, as originally scheduled, because we could not have a quorum in town in person to be able to have this meeting. We did have a special meeting this past Tuesday evening to specifically discuss this, rather than putting it off until this evening, knowing that one of our board members was not going to be available this evening, to try to move this along. So just wanted to let the staff know that. So thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else that's not on the agenda?
Hi, I'm Bruce Holloway from Boulder Creek. A month ago, I found out that the $55,000 that was in the endowment fund that had been discussed in the finance committee and that I was asking questions about had been transferred to the Community Foundation of Santa Cruz County. And that seemed like a gift of public funds to me. And gifts of public funds are prohibited by the state constitution. So, so I'm trying to understand this. The management team apparently made this decision. And I don't think there was any board authorization. So this transfer, it's not an expense. It's not for goods and services. It's not an investment. It's one of the authorized investments in the investment policy. Since it's not an expense or an investment, I think it's a gift. And it's not authorized because I just don't know where the board ever authorized this kind of thing to happen. Now there was a meeting, a budget and finance committee meeting last week that was scheduled, and there was a packet, and there was a bunch of information about this transfer in that packet. And I appreciate the additional information. I've been asking questions, and so I learned more from the packet, but the link to that packet has been deleted from the district website, which is really unusual to me. I usually, agenda packets go on the website and they stay there pretty much forever. So I think the reason I'm bringing this up now is because I think all 5 board members need to know about this. And I wish it had been on an agenda tonight. And I think there's a lot more to say about it than I can say in these few minutes. Also, I think, to me, I kind of suspect that the Community Foundation itself has a little bit of responsibility here. The kinds of entities that usually are making contributions to the Community Foundation, I assume, are individuals who are getting tax deductions. And so to have a contribution to a private foundation come from a public agency seems like an unnatural act to me, seems to me that they ought to be aware of. And I got a phone call into the Community Foundation. I haven't been able to talk to them about this. I hope they return the money. That's really the simple answer to this. Just give the money back and move on. And I can give you a lot of other details about it. I tried to find the payment in the financial report tonight. I looked through all the ACHs, looked through all the EFTs, looked through all the checks, didn't see it. I saw checks on July 10th. I saw checks on August 7th. And this transfer apparently happened on July 21st. So I don't understand where the payment happened. It's not in the reports, but it is on page 223. You can see the 55,000 as of June 30th is still in a district checking account.
All right,
Thanks.
thank you. Anybody else from the public?
Mark,
Yes.
is that something that we can have a little bit more information about I saw that on the Budget Finance Committee as well. If it's too lengthy for tonight, we can bring it back at a future meeting.
If you'd like to see that, just submit the request. I think we could have that on a future agenda. I don't know the details of what.
No, I don't either. That's why I'd like to find out what's happening.
If you could work with Jason and just copy me on it.
Yeah, sure.
Then,
No worries. It's very simple. Be one line.
all right, okay. So items that are not on the agenda. Joe,
Hello, Joel Siana. I'm resident of Scott Valley, engineer here at the Water District. Also have the privilege of being a union steward for AFSCME here. Thankful to Carol who spoke before me, all the representatives, or sorry, all the coworkers here who came after hours to support our stance here. Just to remind the board of the priority that should be placed on our employees. Obviously, recently some traction has been made, but and I'm glad for that. I'm glad we now have 5 board members who are intelligent and helpful and reasonable. We have GM who is here, intelligent, helpful, reasonable. I know there was a lot of turnover that's caused some delays, and I know that we'll eventually reach an agreement. But I just want to emphasize that the way that this has been handled shouldn't be a default for negotiating moving forward. This should not be the standard for how we do how the board negotiates with its employees. There's been just a lot of waiting. I think the union has been prompt in coming to the table as soon as we were provided with the study. And yeah, we still have not, properly received a response. I'm glad that it sounds like one is forthcoming, but I think it's a disservice to how hardworking our employees are that it's assumed that, oh, we can just wait another month, and then another month after that, and so on. If an important task was assigned to myself, to one of my coworkers, to one of the management, and they neglected to respond or complete that task in 6 months or however many it's been, I think that would be unacceptable behavior. So I think, if that behavior isn't acceptable for employees, I think we expect the same from the district directors. And yeah, I want to expect more from the board of directors. Thank you so much, and I hope we can reach an agreement and look forward to it.
thanks, Joe. Okay. I see no members of the public online that wish to comment. Moving on then, unfinished business, we have none. New business. The proposed changes to the organizational chart. Jason, take it
In your
away.
packet, you're gonna find the proposed new organizational chart with revisions to management job titles. 1 new position that is a net 0 staff increase, and 1 new position that would increase staff by 1. As you're all aware, the district continues to face pressing challenges such as aging infrastructure, wildfire recovery, drought resilience, and regulatory compliance. These issues demand that we deliver projects quickly, cost effectively, and with accountability. At the same time, there are opportunities to secure outside funding to ease the burden on ratepayers. Historically, the district has relied heavily on consultants for engineering, grant writing, and project management. While they have provided support, the costs have been high, the results inconsistent, and the value to the district limited. Continuing this approach is not sustainable. To correct this, staff recommends 3 targeted adjustments to the organizational chart. An associate engineer. This is not an additional headcount. It is a structural change allowing internal promotion and retention of skilled staff. This position enables us to perform design and management of smaller infrastructure projects in-house, which reduces consultant dependence and accelerates project delivery. Management analyst. This new role focuses on securing and managing external funding. By bringing this work in-house, we cut down on expensive consultant contracts while ensuring grant compliance and reporting are handled properly. The position also supports management and the board with research, project tracking, and communication, while improving transparency and customer outreach at minimal cost. And the title adjustment, water treatment manager will now become, again, the water treatment supervisor. This alignment corrects a mismatch in title versus actual responsibilities. It clarifies reporting relationships and yields a $13,000 a year in reduction of operational costs. The overall financial impact, the proposed staffing changes are projected to increase the operating expense budget by approximately $309,000 over the next 2 fiscal years. However, this increase can be offset by concrete identified savings and reimbursements. A savings of $209,000 minimum in consultant cost reductions, that money that was scheduled to go to Acton. $17,000 in FEMA reimbursements already secured. $135,000 in Cal OES reimbursement of management costs. $485,000 in FEMA projects under final review for obligation. Another $1 million in a FEMA grant application, plus the 13,000 year operational savings from the title adjustment. These are not speculative, they are existing or near final funding streams and savings. When compared to our historic consultant spending, the investment in staff pays for itself quickly, while also strengthening long-term capacity. Why this matters: it reduces the risk of cost overruns and delays tied to consultants. It keeps project dollars working inside the district instead of leaving with consultants. It provides the district the ability to capture external funds rather than burdening ratepayers. It improves accountability and transparency to both the board and the community. This proposal is not about growing government, it is about getting smarter and more self-sufficient. These modest staffing changes are a disciplined investment, cutting consultant waste, protecting ratepayer dollars, and ensuring that every available outside dollar is captured. Staff respectfully recommends board approval of the organizational chart adjustments and the addition of the associate engineer and management analyst position.
Okay. Questions from the board? Director Largay?
Forgive me for not having an organizational chart from prior to this change available. Would you describe the tiering of staff under the engineering manager currently?
Under the engineering manager, we have the assistant or associate engineer that with a new position proposed, the construction inspector, and the GIS CAD specialist.
Those are under the that's under the proposed org chart.
The current one is an assistant engineer, a construction inspector, and a GIS CAD specialist.
I see. So the associate engineer is the addition?
It is a position that which allows us the opportunity to promote.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I don't have other questions. I strongly support this. I think it makes a lot of sense to bring this work in-house. I think the integration of fund seeking, grant management, and coordination of in-house staff is vastly superior to consultants. So I think it's a great idea. That's all I got.
Okay, all right. Director Russ?
Jason, is the associate engineer, is that supposed to be a professional license, professional engineering license?
It would have to have a PE, yes.
Okay, it's a civil engineering PE license. Because Garrett, you have one already, right?
Correct.
But Joel does. Oh, and Joel does too.
Joel's a
Oh,
licensed engineer.
A month ago?
yeah, recent. Oh, is that right? Oh, well, good for him. All right, that's a lot of work. And so I know all the drawings and stuff, and now hopefully bringing more of this in-house. I guess, will that be important, or really are you looking, is it really more the skill set and the ability to do these things that's more important? I mean, I guess I'm trying to understand, I saw that was one of the requirements for the minimum qualifications. I'm just trying to understand what about the associate engineering position will allow them to really take on more work than we had given to consultants in the past.
Right. So the smaller pipeline projects and maybe some of the tank designs and project management, taking that on and taking it away from the consultants, because he's a licensed engineer, he can sign off on drawings and thereby reducing our reliance on consultants and you know, trying to overburden Garrett with a lot of this stuff. Reducing capital costs. You're not going to see it in operations. You're going to see the capital costs come down, allowing us to do more projects.
Okay. And does the department already have access to the kinds of CAD packages and software hydraulic analyses, retaining wall, calculations, that kind of stuff. So that if you have a capable person, they can really use these tools, or do we need to also acquire more tools to help?
My understanding is they have the software that they need right now. Well, Garrett, speak if they need anything else.
Yes, we recently purchased the hydraulic modeling software.
Okay.
So we had the model built by Akel. And so now we're able to run scenarios on our system. If we wanted to take the Brookdale tank out of service so we can recode it,
Wow.
we can run that through the model.
So it's customized to what we actually, our
It
infrastructure.
was built for our system, and every time we have a new pipeline or a new tank built, we would have to go back to the consultant and have them update the model. Now that we have the model, we can do the updates ourselves, and we can run scenarios if we wanted to change the system.
But I think we have to admit, having an associate engineer versus an assistant engineer doesn't really matter for what you were describing. Having somebody who could stamp drawings with a license.
Yeah, and also to retain talent,
Agreed.
I want to have a position available so that
Yeah.
they don't look elsewhere.
Yeah.
And they want to stay.
They being,
Whoever would be the
they being,
associate engineer.
okay, all right.
Got it. Okay. No, that's great.
Whoever's
Glad to hear it.
qualified for president.
Yeah, whoever's
okay.
qualified.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
okay. Anything else?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, if an assistant engineer has a PE, I'm hoping they can do the work too. Like if we were lucky enough to hire somebody that
Yeah.
just got their PE, they're new to the district, what have you,
Yeah.
in the future. I don't want to see a title get in the way of work that people are qualified for. I'm sure that's something we can all agree to. I do want to be very careful though about what it is that we're proposing to be done. From my point of view, the only action the board should be taking is the approval of positions. We should not be approving the org chart as it exists below our purview. That is in the purview of the general manager to organize the agency in the way that he sees best, most efficient, most cost effective, et cetera. So by taking the action to approve the org chart, we're actually stepping into that. And I don't think we want to do that. I appreciate you putting it on there that way, Jason, but I don't think we want to do that as a board. I would not be able to vote for that because of what I want to give you as the ability to manage the organization the way that you think is best. The second question had to do with headcount. So, and part of this, I'll admit, is the fact that I'm a little jaded by what happened about 10 years ago with headcount, where things were added very willy-nilly with very little justification for it. And I think that there's some of that fallout that we still live with at this point. So when I see a budget amendment to increase, I also like to look for, well, what are we offsetting that against? Do we really need the budget amendment of 100K based on the numbers that you had provided to me offline?
So, yeah, so the budget amendment is for expenses. So I'm not looking at the reimbursements and the increased revenues that will be generated from the position. I was only giving you the expenses because I know those are a known quantity.
Okay.
As you can see, there are.
Are we still needing $100,000 increase in operating expenses though?
Those were the numbers that I was given, so I'm going with those right now.
I didn't see that in the spreadsheet that we got from Heather the other day. I saw actually that it could have gone down by about 18,000. That I was no, it was no, we all got.
No, we got it.
Okay,
Yeah,
we all, okay.
So that the projection, what that does is includes this position, but it takes out the consultants who have a 3% increase year after year. So that's why you see that increase towards the end.
Yeah, but I mean, I was looking even at the first 2 years, and current budget cycle that we're in. And I didn't see that an increase was necessary.
Yeah.
So I mean, just from a budgeting point of view, and I'm probably the most, whatever about it. I don't like the increase without seeing an offset somewhere else unless we know exactly where that's going to come from and we're presented with those numbers in the agenda item. So I'm a little concerned about the 100,000 in that regard. I think it was either much smaller or even a negative based on the expense numbers that we got from Heather the other day.
Well, then the numbers may have been revised. The what's in the packet was what we had on at the time on Friday when the agenda was posted. So
It's okay to update the packet with new information as it comes along, just FYI, that's okay as long as we post it. So, okay, I understand what we're trying to do here. But I would recommend that we not approve the org chart and then the number the board will have.
If there was a budget amendment, that would have to be done by resolution anyway. That's what the email I received today. And so
we drop that as well. Can we drop that as well?
Yeah. And then all we would be doing right now is approving the position.
Yes, approving the positions and the titles and right. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you for that.
Okay. A few questions that I have then. The associate engineer, since I believe Ryan and Bob were alluding to costs or potential cost savings. Do you have any recent projects, maybe over the last couple of years, that we have either one done in-house or two, the simple ones, the pipeline ones that we did go outside to consultants for, that we would now be able to say, no, we're going to take that one for, we issued a contract for 35,000 for that. We issued a contract for this one for 42,000 or whatever the numbers were. And we're now going to be able to do that in-house. Do you have any concrete? Because I see that alluded to in the memo, but without any.
So I have asked Garrett to get those numbers and I believe he's prepared to give them.
Yeah. So for instance, the Peavine raw water pipeline project, this is in the order of $3 to $4 million project. Typically, you can expect an engineering consultant to charge you around 10% of the construction fee for design. So that alone is, over a $200,000 savings. We have pump station fire hardening project that we're working with the GWR grant to right now we've completed plans for roof replacements on 5 of our existing pump stations that have wooden roofs. That would be a savings of around $30,000 compared to if we had to hire a consultant to prepare those plans for us.
Okay.
The Lion Slide.
So it's more than just what I'm envisioning, the simpler pipelines that you're citing. It's beyond that, but you're pointing out projects to us.
Yes. So
we will be able to do that if we have another engineer on staff with a PE. Besides you.
I would encourage the board to have 3 people on staff with the amount of projects we have.
That's not in front of us now. What we have is
so this is why I don't want to mandate the org chart.
But it's my understanding that because Jason is recommending this change, and it does, if not add staff, a position change, but the management analyst, I think you're saying, is an add to the org chart.
Yes.
That the board should be discussing that to say, yes, we agree with these additional positions. Whether it's changing the org chart to Bob's or how you do that, but adding these 2 positions. Yeah, makes let's see. Okay, that covers the questions that I have on it then. Okay.
More, can I just make one other point, I think, that goes along with this, and that is, we're gonna be doing more neighborhood work with pipeline going forward, not so much 236, Highway 9, that sort of thing. And so I think that's also another reason why doing it in-house makes a lot of sense. Right, like the West Park thing, that's something that could easily be done in-house, right?
Yes, we've done the Highway 9 PM 1212 mainline relocation in-house. The Highway 9 PM 11.66 in-house.
Yeah.
We did the Caltrans Highway 9 abandonments in-house. That's for the sidewalk project from Felton to the high school.
Yep.
So
Yeah,
Okay.
so
Yeah.
good.
Okay. All right.
And if I could just add to
Sure.
both of your comments, which is maybe as Bob points out, we don't approve an org chart, but I would say it's in our purview to approve any full-time equivalent person.
Well,
So-
the positions we definitely have to.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So you're just saying where they go and how they. line up.
That's his job, not my job, not your job.
I understand.
And so we really are not voting tonight, as I understand it, on the budget, or the org chart is only the two positions.
The motion would be to approve the additional positions of associate engineer and management analyst.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay. Given that, any members of the public wish to comment on this item? Seeing none in the room, and none online, I want to make a recommendation that the board approves the addition of the management analyst and the associate engineer to the district's organizational structure.
But point of order, are you recommending that the board do that, or are you moving?
I'm sorry, I'm moving.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes, I'm making a motion for that.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, all right.
The President Smalley,
Yes.
Director Fultz,
Yes.
Director Larday,
Yes.
and Director Russ.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, boy.
Moving on. The reimbursement of the capital expenditures from proceeds of tax exempt obligations.
Yeah, we have it.
Okay,
Good evening,
Uh,
Board. Heather Ipoletti, Finance Consultant to the District Senior Advisor with Regional Government Services. The proposed motion before you this evening is to adopt a resolution declaring intention to reimburse expenditures from proceeds of tax exempt obligations. The district is planning to finance public capital improvements. Many of these projects are ready to go, and the staff are anxious, let's say, to get going. The IRS code allows a bond issuer to use the proceeds of its bond issuance to reimburse expenditures made prior to the time bonds are issued, but only so long as the issuer expresses an intent to do so prior to the actual issuance of the bonds. The proposed reimbursement resolution is the required expression of intent and is needed if the district wants to potentially reimburse itself for costs it actually pays for prior to the issuance of the bonds. Adoption of the proposed resolution does not obligate the board to decide whether bonds will be issued. That decision will require further board action at a future meeting to determine whether to proceed and approve related bond documents. Adoption of this resolution simply preserves the ability to realize the benefit of tax exempt financing for certain costs incurred prior to the availability of bond proceeds if and when issued. That concludes staff's report, and I'm available for questions.
okay. Questions then, Director Russ?
Heather, I had I know that I noticed in the actual resolution that it lists projected bond proceeds or issuance of, I think it was 6.5 million, but I thought we were talking about a much bigger number. Or am I getting confused with between? Okay.
There's many different ways to issue these proposed bonds that were recommended in the budget. you could do it one chunk at a time. So there's a requirement to essentially spend these funds within 3 years. So the district may choose to essentially take that 3 years of proposed debt finance projects and break it into 3 years. Okay, or three issuances. That number right there is just one possible way of doing it. This is not obligating you to only 6.5. It could be the whole 19 million, it could be 12 million, or somewhere in between. That was just a number that when Jason and I talked about it, we took the total proposed debt financed projects, and I think we divided it by 3. That is how we came up with that number. It does not hold you to anything.
All right, no, I appreciate that. And I like the idea of looking seriously at multiple tranches, so that sounds good. So there's no disadvantage to having that kind of a number.
No disadvantage whatsoever. I had a long conversation with the proposed debt financing team.
Okay. Thank you. That's all my questions.
Okay. Director Foltz?
And as part of that long conversation, were there any topics discussed about whether or not this would impact interest rate, borrowing costs, that sort of thing, by doing this kind of action?
Doing the resolution or breaking it into 3 sections?
Basically saying we're going to reimburse ourselves for projects.
No, there is absolutely no impact to interest rates or anything related to bond ratings. This is purely what's allowed per the IRS code to reimburse yourself.
And, you know, from a historical point of view, at least the last 2 borrowings that we've done, we really haven't done a great job of implementing over 3 years. So I can see the reason to do this.
Yeah.
The other concern I have, though, is whether or not this impacts where the line gets drawn on the capital improvement budget. Right now, the budget that the board passed calls for, I think it's 45 million, more or less, 40 million in capital improvements over the next 5 years, of which really, I think from a borrowing capacity, we'll might be able to get half. So are we talking about changing any of that where the line is drawn on this? Are we going to be doing fewer projects because we're doing some of these projects now? The issue here is I don't see how there's not an attachment here to talk about that. And so I can't really make a decision based on if there is any impact or not. I mean, I know there's probably no intention for there to be an impact, but without actually saying, these are the projects we're going to do, boom, 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 because it's a subset of what's in the budget, it's hard to make a decision.
So originally, the idea was to take the shovel-ready only projects and put them in this resolution, but after discussing it with Heather, the IRS code basically says that you have to include everything in the resolution. So this resolution is basically allows us to get started on the projects that are ready to go right now and has no impact on the full 5-year capital improvement.
Are 100% of those projects in the capital improvement plan right now? Is there any variance at all?
No, the 6.5 million is accounted for in the first year of the capital improvement program.
Okay, so we wouldn't be doing any projects that are not in the capital improvement plan that we passed in the budget?
No.
Okay. There's still, I think, a discussion about where those projects are priority-wise, where the line's drawn. We'll need to have that in a future time.
Right, but I think that's separate from, do we agree with this?
It's separate but related, because if these projects were going to be done outside of what's on that capital improvement plan, that would be not a good thing.
Yeah, nice.
Okay.
Are we starting projects
Yes.
that we don't have the funding for right now that we're gonna?
Well, or starting projects that weren't on the list that we told the community we're going to do.
Yes.
And we already know we can't do
Right.
more than half of them, so.
Right. Yeah. Okay, all right. Brian?
Yeah, so I understand that what we're asked to today is get this process started, and I'm comfortable with that. That seems fairly straightforward. I think that in order to complete the process, I'll just take the opportunity to, since we're talking about bond issuance, I'm quite concerned about our borrowing, the amount we borrow, and our ability to execute the projects in a timely manner so that we are not charged any fees for being late, and we're not paying interest on any more borrowed money than we need to at any time during the process. And so as we make future decisions about borrowing, there are two components of the decision process that I would like to see. One is a refined schedule for implementation for construction, so that we have very high confidence of the projects being shovel ready on a schedule that warrants securing the funding. And then also some scenario analysis that looks at the financial impact of borrowing what I understand could be anywhere from 6.5, perhaps up to 18 million, perhaps down to 3 million, for all I know, based on what we've heard. And I understand that there's financing costs that are lump sum per bond issuance event. And then there's the risk of not spending it all on the schedule. And then there's also the interest payments on that whole amount, even if you've only spent a fraction of it. And it's a fairly complicated set of decisions that will need to be made. And having a systematic analysis of that that's clearly expressed from the engineering side and the financial planning side will be really important in the months ahead. Thanks.
Okay. A couple questions that I have. One of the projects that's listed in here that I think is I hope just a nomenclature as to what it's called versus what we're actually doing is where it lists Bracken Braid Four Springs consolidations, which we can't fund the consolidations with ratepayer money, but a portion of the work that we've done this year to eventually support that is within the district's existing network. So what's implied by that item being on this list?
My understanding is that that item is what's currently contracted with Anderson Pacific.
I think you're taking it more broadly than is intended. It's a language issue.
And that's what I wanted to see. Okay, so that work is nearly done, and we need the resolution to be able to take bond proceeds to pay for the work that is nearly complete. I see Garrett shaking his head yes.
Okay.
Okay. All right. And the way that I read the memo is we want to start work on the Highland project before bond issuance.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. But any contract that we issue for the Highland tank comes back to the board.
Correct.
Before we start.
All of these projects will come back to.
Okay. All right. So it's the do we agree with this resolution as proposed to it?
Yeah, it allows staff to bring these to the board for approval that we can begin construction on.
Right. But with the intent of being able to use the bond proceeds to cover these work that's done prior to the bond. Right. Okay. All right.
Well, Marcus, sorry, one other thing I wanted to ask. So right now we're operating on a reserve policy that really limits the amount of cash that can be spent right now because it's not part of the emergency fund. By doing this, we're also sort of moving down the path of modifying that, which was also in the budget committee packet that has been withdrawn from, right? So my sense here is that everybody on the board, I mean, obviously you're nodding your head, so you're aware of it, but I want to make sure everybody on the board is aware of the fact that as of right now, we can't really spend that money because it is set aside for emergency use. So I think there's somewhere along the lines of 1.5 million, 2 million, something like that, that's really available right now without modifying the reserve policy. Okay,
Okay.
all right.
Any comments from members of the public on this item?
I think a meeting or two ago, I was noticing that there was money left over from the borrowing 6 years ago, so it's on page 223. There's still money left over from 6 years. And I was asking about that a meeting or two ago, and I guess the impression I got was that that borrowing was attached to a list of projects, and then when some of those projects hit snags, work stopped and the money was just holed up there and couldn't be spent on other projects. And so when I asked that question a meeting or two ago, Director Fultz started talking about it, and I guess I thought what I heard was we shouldn't have attached a project list to that borrowing in 2019.
Not what I said.
Okay, I guess I misunderstood what the conversation was there. So it sounds like there's no downside with this. If you don't do the work, it doesn't matter. If you do the work and you don't borrow, it doesn't matter. There's really no downside. In fact, it even sounds like a month from now, you could tack on another $1 million to it, as long as it's in advance of, prior to the bond issuance or whatever. Anyway, I'm just concerned about the idea somehow we're going to borrow money and not be able to spend it because some project hits a snag, and then there's a year or two delay, and there's millions of dollars that's just stuck in a restricted account and can't be spent. That's really my worry about it.
Okay. Anybody else from the public wish to comment on this? Seeing none here, none online. I'll move that the board adopt a resolution declaring the intention to reimburse expenditures from proceeds of tax exempt obligations.
Mark, may I offer a friendly amendment to that hopefully you'll accept? Insert the word capital between reimburse and expenditures, just for clarity purposes.
Yes, that makes sense. Okay. Change so noted.
And I'll second that.
Right, President Fultz,
Not quite.
sorry, I was writing your name.
Thank
President
you.
Smalley, no problem.
Yes.
Then Director Larday,
Yes.
Director Russ,
Yes.
and Director Fultz.
Yes.
Okay. Moving on to the rate assistance program.
That will again.
Heather, is this one also? Okay, go ahead, Heather.
Good evening. Board, the action before you this evening is to adopt a resolution approving the revised rate assistance program. Back on June 5th, 2025, the board, with the adoption of the fiscal year 25-26 budget, approved sufficient budget for a $5 per month annual increase in the rate assistance program benefit to $25 per month, plus increased funding for 30 additional participants for an increase in cost of $15,800 for fiscal year 25-26. And 24,560 in fiscal year 26-27 over the 24-25 budget of 28,000. The proposed changes to the policy align the policy with the adopted budget. That concludes staff's presentation, and I'm here to answer any questions.
Okay, questions then. Director Fultz.
No questions, but I have a comment. Do we want them now or later?
Go
Okay. Yeah, when this program started a few years ago, 5 years ago, I think, it was at a $25,000 level. We're now double that. And at current trends, we're going to be probably doubling that in the next 5 years or so as well. I understand the need for assistance on water. That in fact, the state of California has declared water being a human right, but they've not provided any funding for it. And that is a problem because small districts like ourselves $50,000 is basically 1/4 of a tank recoating based on the new numbers we have now. And believe me, because I have a lot of issues with our current rate structure, which is why I oppose it. I'm sensitive to people, particularly the people at the lower end of the usage getting the biggest percentage increase. But this isn't the way to deal with that. And I'm concerned about this continuing to grow over time to the point where it becomes even more significant than it is now, as has been stated by the people that are behind this originally and are continuing to push for it. So because of all that, even though I know that it's aligning with what has taken place in the past, which I voted no for, I will have to vote no on this again tonight.
Okay. Director Largay?
I think this is an important program to help friends and neighbors in need and people in our community who would otherwise forego other essentials to pay their water bill. And I don't have questions on it, and I think it's the right thing to do, and I'm comfortable supporting it.
Okay. Director Ross?
I'm also comfortable with it. I think in the grand scheme of our budget, it's still a relatively small percentage that I think we can absorb and try to support some of our needier customers. So I'm okay with it.
Okay. I have no questions on this and I support it. So I'd like to go out to the public first for any comments on this before we consider a motion. So anybody from the public wish to comment on this? Seeing none here in the room. I see no one online either. I move that the board adopt a resolution approving the revised rate assistance program.
I'll second that.
President Smalley?
Yes.
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
Motion passes.
Motion passes.
Okay. Next, we have the purchase of 2 utility trucks.
Will be presented by our newest management member, Jesse.
On June 5th, 2025, the fiscal year 2026 CIP budget was approved by the board. In this budget, $130,000 was allocated for the purchase of 2 3/4-ton utility trucks. A bid notice was sent to 4 dealerships, and only Watsonville Ford committed a qualifying bid within the deadline. The submitted bid is $16,535 for the budget. This addresses staff recommendations deferring the planned forklift purchase originally budgeted for $45,000 to a future fiscal year. Those funds will be reallocated to cover the truck purchase and may also help offset the expected higher than budgeted cost for a vehicle in the environmental department, currently budgeted at $33,000. Staff respectively recommends the board approve the budget.
Okay. Brian?
I guess my only question is there a reason not to invite additional bidders if you only received 1 qualified bid?
So when we submitted the notice of bids, we just had a deadline and we had multiple dealerships not respond. So just a matter of moving it forward. We found this the right move to make. We're just going with Watsonville Ford.
I see.
I'm still getting up to speed on what the district's equipment and infrastructure has. Can you just give me a ballpark idea? How many trucks do we have? And I'm just trying to get a feel for what do 2 brand new trucks, what kind of a percentage does that constitute of our the trucks that we've got and ages and that kind of thing?
Yes, currently we have about 30 vehicles. We have multiple vehicles that are or older, have higher mileage, and we're putting a lot of repair costs and service costs into them.
And how many 3/4 ton trucks do we have? Or approximately?
About.
Yeah, I'm not looking for precision here.
About 20.
20. Okay, so, and I guess, I guess I'm just trying to understand, you know, what the usage would be for those 20 trucks, you know, how often would they be out in the field? How many of them typically are in the shop because they are old and need something done? And so, I certainly understand, you know, wanting to, you know, from a sort of a continuity point of view, always having some new trucks coming in and then selling, you know, for whatever you can get some of the older stuff. How do you see that kind of continuity? If two new trucks, but we've got plenty. And so it sounds like we already have enough trucks
Yes.
to provide everybody transportation that needs a truck, right?
Yeah, so these 2 trucks will be replacing 2 other utility vehicles that over the last couple of years, we put a lot of money into the repairs and services. We won't be surplusing these trucks immediately. We like to keep them in our inventory for potential backup. There are times where, like you said, we have other trucks in the shop and the operator needs a truck, so we can use that vehicle. In the scenario where the backup vehicle needs additional repairs, and at that time staff will look into it, see if it's necessary, should we surplus it or make repairs.
Okay, and by surplus, you mean sell it for salvage or whatever you can get? Okay. All right, thank you.
Pretty much every employee has a vehicle of some kind, so that's, and the guys in the field particularly need.
Particularly, right, that's what I was asking about the
Yeah.
truck, right?
I mean, I have to say I'm astounded that North Bay Ford wasn't the winner again, since they've been the winner of the 7 years I've been on the board. Every truck that's been purchased seems to have come from them. But I do have a similar question to Brian, and that is, did we expand the range? You know, we got our dump truck from Visalia, and I mean, I drove it back, and other than the governor, which was annoying, it was an okay ride. Is there any reason why we would keep it so close and not go into this Central Valley where things are usually cheaper?
Land's cheaper.
Or LA even. I mean, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I bought my car in LA because it was $3,000 less than I could buy it here, which was worth the trip.
Yeah, I'm not prepared. Maybe Scott can comment on this.
Well, the vehicles that we spec out are ordered, so you can't really buy them off the lot. So Salinas Valley Ford, they have a bunch of trucks out there, but they don't meet our criteria. So even though there's trucks out there, they're not for us, and they don't want to sell their stuff up out of inventory. Usually when you go into bid, they want to sell it out of their build pack. So, and the reason that North Bay Ford didn't get the bid is because the salesperson who was at North Bay Ford is now at Watsonville Ford.
There you go. Well, there you go. So obviously there's
We did send it to Gilroy Auto Group, which is a bunch of dealerships.
Yeah.
We sent it to, Ford Over the Hill, 2 Fords here in town, and Watsonville Chevrolet.
but is there any reason that we would limit ourselves to that and not go to, I don't know, Fresno or Visalia or any of that?
Also sent it out there, and we've had no response.
They just like say, here, screw you, we're not
Last
doing
time we
it.
got anything from Visalia or Fresno was like in 2001, I think, truck 180. A couple of Chevys is what we got. And those vehicles are, the Chevys are less desirable than the Fords just for the suspension and the heavy duty is. That's why we get the 3/4 ton. They've lasted a lot longer than the vehicles we had in the past. When I started working here, they were all Chevys and going through brakes, and they just didn't hold up to the weight of chlorine and all the equipment and the dirt and stuff like that.
You mean you don't go with the fix or repair daily?
No, I tried. Well, first time race day. So.
All right. Well, I appreciate the contact. Thank you.
So on that thread, we have 30 vehicles. We have 35 people.
Everybody gets a
roughly.
36.
Yeah, 30, okay, 36 then. But I do see ones in the office and finance staff who probably never touch a vehicle or need a vehicle on a regular basis. Is there something or
So right now,
are
one
there
of those
enough
vehicles
backups?
is the backup. That vehicle would be surplus. The two vehicles that would be replaced would then be a backup. So we now have two backups. I would say just based on the layout of our system, it's crucial that each operator has.
I understand the operators, yes. Yeah, but we don't have
Yeah.
20, sure.
So we do have a couple of dump trucks that are in our inventory that not everybody drives every day. And we do have another
Right.
truck that's a select truck, has the Vector in it.
That-
So
that-
it's, there's three vehicles that are
vacuum
sitting,
truck.
Okay,
that are part of the
Right.
inventory,
Okay.
plus the one backup vehicle. So there's four vehicles that are
right,
not being driven all the time, but could potentially be driven all the time.
right, but are part of that 30.
Yes, they are.
Con.
Part of the.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, were you purchasing vehicles at your previous?
We did purchase vehicles under the previous
Uh,
water district.
to at least two of the other directors, is there any advantage in your mind to go well outside of?
There's nothing prohibiting us from looking outside.
Right.
I will say that the board that I served under strongly recommended that we shop locally, so that's what I'm used to.
Not that I'm used to.
Yeah, but I
understand
know the
that.
reason for that. We
But-
don't have that reason.
Yeah.
But
That's fair.
I understand that, but, what's the urgency in having these, versus what's the time frame that you had for response time on the previous? Was it 60 days?
3 to 4 weeks.
3 to 4 weeks, okay. So,
We did get a response from North Bay Ford, but it didn't qualify because it was a two-wheel drive and
Right.
and it was a 2024 vehicle.
I understand, something that meets specs,
Yeah.
something that meets specs.
Current
Right.
model year or newer.
Right. And I realize that if we go well outside of our sphere of influence locally at the dealerships, then it's going to be similar to what we did. Sending somebody that's involved with the district, go down and get a vehicle and bring, so there's cost with that if we're sending staff to do that, but
It's a vacation.
but is there any reason to bring this or to just do this, to a few other outside entities to see if there's?
Can I make a suggestion here?
Sure.
I think that part of the danger we get into is that we may also lose what we've got. Jason's relatively new. I would say let's go ahead and approve this, allow Jason to work on it for the next, because we're gonna have vehicles coming up here in the next year or two, I'm sure. And basically work on something maybe a little different. We don't have local dealerships like you did there, so we have no loyalties at all to anybody.
We did have a vehicle purchase policy, which I can use as a template and bring them before the board.
Bingo. Yeah, I mean, to getting policies in place, we just sort of plug and chug through. That's,
Yeah. Okay. All right. So does anybody from the public want to comment on this item? Okay. So, Director Fultz,
you want me to,
could you make a?
oh, I can make a motion, sure.
Right.
I move that the board approves the purchase of 2 utility trucks from Watsonville Ford in amount of $1,146,535 and authorizes the general manager to execute any documents required for their purchase. They're not its.
Okay.
I'll second.
President Smalley,
Yes.
Director Burgay,
Yes.
Director Russ.
Yes.
And Director Foltz.
Yes.
Okay. Motion passes unanimously again. Okay, moving on to the Redwood Park SCADA.
Because he did such an excellent job, we're gonna put Jesse up again.
Give me a second.
Take a deep breath.
All right, take it up. All right, thank you. In January 2024, 2023, the board authorized the DWR tank replacement project to improve drought resiliency. This project will replace 2 undersized 10,000 gallon redwood tanks with a 120,000 gallon voltage steel tank. As part of the project, staff evaluated the district's current SCADA and communications infrastructure for the Redwood Park tank site. The existing system operates on outdated AT&T phone lines, which are prone to outages and rely on obsolete, hard-to-source replacement parts. When failure occurs, staff must travel to these sites manually monitoring, creating operational risks. Modernized operations, staff recommends upgrading to industry standard Ethernet-based communication equipment. Emerson Power and Water Solutions has provided a proposal for the upgrade, ensuring system reliability. The cost of this SCADA upgrade is included within the tank construction line items in fiscal year 2025-2026. CIP budget, meaning no additional funds are required beyond what has already been approved. From an environmental standpoint, the project qualifies as exempt under CEQA as it does not cause direct or indirect physical changes to the environment. Staff respectfully recommends the board directs the general manager to execute the proposed contract agreement with Emerson Power and Water.
Okay, all right. Believe that this came in front of the board several months ago.
Yeah, 225, I believe.
And it was for Emerson, a recommendation for Emerson. And the board was saying, isn't there another option other than Emerson? So before we have the questions from the board, can you address that?
Yeah, absolutely. So this past spring, we reached out to several SCADA consultants. We were able to meet with a SciCal SCADA consultant, SciCal to SYCAL.
Okay. And is this a vendor or a?
It's a consultant that will, it's kind of a full.
Okay.
That does everything. So he gave us a proposal for the Redwood Park
right
project.
Yeah.
Staff reviewed the proposal and found it to be incomplete. It was missing a lot of SCADA components that would not allow us to integrate our system with the system he proposed. And based on staff's review, we saw that there was multiple more SCADA communication components such as RTUs that would need to be purchased, which would bring the price much higher than what Emerson proposed.
Okay. Did I miss that in the memo or?
It's not.
No, it's
Okay,
on the
okay.
memo.
For future memos, Jesse, I'd recommend, include, because you were obviously ready to answer the question.
Yes.
And since the board did say, no, take it back, telling us that gives us okay, yeah, they did do what we asked and come back with that. Okay.
I would like to add too, we have 3 separate SCADA systems.
Mhm.
We have a SCADA system called Mission Communications. It's far less expensive than Emerson or Tesco, which we use our Kirby treatment plant. It's a web-based system, and the reason we can't use that everywhere is it's not able to operate with systems with higher logic. So you can do it basically pump, start and off and fill the tank,
Right.
but you can't with something like the Redwood Park system where it's integrated with our Emerson RTUs. We're unable to use the Mission, but it is an option that we use and we apply it when possible.
Okay.
I believe we have 13 sites that we currently use.
Okay. All right. Well, with that, Russ.
I was gonna ask, how many SCADA vendors does the district currently use? 3. So Mission, Emerson,
and Tesco for our Kirby treatment plant and a few sites in Belton that talk to Kirby.
okay. And aside from the bid here from Emerson, how many sites does Emerson exist?
Well, we have
Approximately.
13 Mission, 4 or 5 Tesco. I would say about 25 to 30.
Of just Emerson. Okay. And I know all of these SCADA systems are essentially proprietary, right?
Yes.
And that's all, I've always disliked that, but I know that that's the game that's been played for decades. And so I guess I'll just ask a few specific questions. So we're getting rid of the AT&T phone lines. What would be our communications medium then?
Ethernet would be what we would go with, Ethernet.
Ethernet, so there would be a coax, a fiber optic, fiber optics. Okay, so there'd be a fiber optic going to, there's 2 booster stations and Spring Tank, right? And so there'd be a separate fiber to each of those? I'm not sure how that works.
That's a great question. I believe it'd be one separate, Scott.
Well, we need to go, we probably have fiber optic on Highway 9, because that's right there a little bit going up Scenic, you might be on Comcast.
Yeah.
That we have weekend tunnel between the locations.
Normally you run a fiber and maybe a redundant fiber, and then you have some sort of switch inside that sends out the, you know, Cat 5 or something separate thing.
We're not gonna have fiber right there. Okay, yeah, so that's certainly a big, a definite improvement. Let's see, sorry, had a couple other just quick questions. Are there, what are, I guess, protocols or guidelines that are now used to prevent cyber attacks or someone, you know, somehow coming in and manipulating your system?
Well, Emerson's not an open source system in the sense where the RTU is programmed specifically for our district.
Okay, but you still have ways, and I don't know if there are S485 connections or what, but you still have ways where someone, installer or an engineer can go up to the site and I assume plug into the RTU that's on the site and then give it new updated instructions or
Yeah, or
whatever.
even remotely.
Even remotely. And so what are the protections for that kind of actual physical access? Yeah.
So Scott, we have multiple firewalls. There's firewalls at every location. And then the only access is through the main firewall to log into the network to do anything. So you have to log into the main one and authenticate. So you can do authentication. And then again, there's a firewall at each location that only specifically talks back to its intended target. So it's like
okay.
It's locked down pretty good.
Okay.
Obviously nothing's absolutely perfect, but it's
right.
It's pretty good.
Okay. All right. No, it's good to hear. Okay. Yeah, that does it for me. Thank you. Okay.
Right. Just following up on that, I mean, one of the things that I've talked about before is perhaps the need to do a review using a formal standard of some kind of our cybersecurity profile. CMMC 800-171, 853, Rev 5, those kind of things can all be used depending on what kind of scope you want to look at. I've done a lot of that review work myself, so I'm fairly familiar with it. I think something like that at some point, especially given Jason's background, would probably be very helpful. So basically, I think what I said last time when I was at 225 is thank you, sir, may have another. And so maybe we only are getting one whack this time instead of 4 or 5. I mean, this whole SCADA thing is a friggin' nightmare. And it's probably because, at least me, and I imagine you, I'm used to dealing with IP and Ethernet, and the stuff is just dirt cheap. And here we are spending enormous funds for things that are, yeah. Anyway, and the kind of, I mean, I get the command and control and all that, but the application level is not. I mean, there's a lot of applications out there that do way more things than these do, unfortunately. So, I mean, I'm glad that you got a reduction. Thank you for doing that. But at some point, I think it's probably worthwhile for us to also take a look at our SCADA strategy and see if Emerson is really the vendor, or if there's some way of being able to get into a different architecture, different model, what have you. I can't believe that no one has tried to put together more of an open approach to SCADA. I think they would just blow the doors off the market if they came out with that.
Right.
I mean, I'm almost sitting here going, geez, you know.
Yeah, there's a business opportunity.
Maybe it's a business opportunity there. Anyway, so
Yeah.
I think we're stuck, but I'm at least we're not stuck as bad as we were the last time.
Okay, all right. Brian?
I have no questions. I appreciate the expertise of the people in the room and will defer.
Then, and I do have one follow-up then to what I believe it was both Bob Squared said. Now that we have a general manager who has a lot of experience in IT, I hope that over the next year, you can bring some of that personal knowledge that you have to be able to reflect on these. And
I've worked with companies in the past who come in and basically do a free assessment of your cybersecurity, so.
yeah, not only the cybersecurity, but I think the more global, we've got so much money being invested in Emerson on all of these. Is that the best way for us to do it? I'm not looking for an answer now.
We definitely can go out and look. I was an Allen Bradley guy, so I don't know. We'll go out and look and see, you know, who's the best bang for the buck.
Right. Yeah. Okay. All right.
So any place that we put Allen Bradley, we would also have to have a Bristol RTU to talk to get back to our main concentrator. So without changing out, you know, the data center and ops, you can't really.
I understand this is not we're going to do it for a site. This is more a global.
That's what you mentioned. Something that's less project intensive, it can turn around on it.
Right. Okay. All right. So any comments from members of the public on this item? Which I see none here in the room. I see none online. Then recognizing that staff did do work to reduce the overall cost on this. I want to make a motion that the board direct the general manager to execute the contractor agreement with Emerson Power and Water Solutions for the Redwood Park SCADA upgrades as part of the DWR tanks replacement project in the amount not to exceed $175,000, and authorize the general manager to execute non-substantiative modifications as necessary.
I'll second.
Smalley,
Yes.
Director Larday.
Yes.
Yes.
Director Schultz.
Yes.
Motion.
Okay. Moving on then. Powers Forestry hazard fuel reduction agreement.
That'll be presented by our environmental manager, Chris. So I'm bringing an agreement today with Powers Forestry to carry out our hazard fuel reduction work. I handed out a agreement to you earlier and said it was for item K. That was incorrect. It's actually for this item. There's also copies in the back of the amended agreement if any of the public want to see it. But essentially the basics of this, the district has like 170,000 in grant funding to conduct hazard fuel reduction. And we have a $1,000 cost share to go with that. Big investment. Powers Forestry was the highest rated proposal. As you can see in the table in the memo, with ecological concerns and Lewis Tree Service coming in a close second and third. Yeah, and we propose moving forward with Powers for this work. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Okay. All right. Director Schultz, why don't we start with you on this one?
Yeah, so whenever there's that close of a, I mean, that effectively means they're tied. I mean, it's close enough. 1%. I'd like to be able to see what the other proposal was, and I did get a copy of that. Thank you for sending that along, Jason. And it looked to me like ecological concerns was substantially cheaper. Am I reading it correctly?
So this RFQ, it was hard to get a apples to apples comparison because the work is kind of posed in such a way that we asked them to give us their proposal of how many crew they would need to do the certain site. and how many days and then total cost. So most of the proposals had varying amounts of crew, equipment, days to do it, that kind of thing. I think generally, ecological concerns is probably a cheaper option here, but our RFQ scoring, what we score it by is not all based on scoring. Obviously, we have our different percentages based on the different criteria that we provide.
Well, okay, that confuses and concerns me even more then. I mean, basically what I'm hearing is that all these companies came forward with what they thought it would take to do the job. If for whatever reason, ecological concerns was not performing, we can terminate the contract. Is that not the case?
Sure. However, when you are scoring, we had like 10 proposals for this work.
Yeah.
You go based off the criteria that you have presented in your RFP. You don't just go based off cost. That's
But see, when I look at this is where I've always had a disagreement with how we're doing things, especially around services agreements. The cost portion of that service agreement is actually scored at a small fraction of what it would be under my view of things. We tend to use a very broad set of criteria that really don't have a lot of applicability for services agreements specifically. And even though I know this is grant funded and it's not coming out of our direct pocket, it's still a gift of funds. And I want to make sure that we're being very, very careful about how we're doing that. I mean, 1 point difference does not, to my point of view, does not overcome the fact that ecological concerns look to be much less expensive. And, we've had situations before where we have had a particular vendor that we then shifted at the board meeting because of, things like cost or being able to deliver, what have you. This doesn't feel right. It feels like we're not counting cost at a high enough level to, and I know that we've done a lot of work with Powers Forestry, and I also recognize that there's probably a level of comfort that everybody has with them, but I also want to make sure that we have a lot of vendors that we can choose from. And giving everything to Powers, particularly since I think the next one is also got Powers on it. I'd like to see this go to ecological concerns, unless there's some really hardcore concern that you have that they cannot do the job in budget and on time.
I appreciate that, and I do not have any specific concern, but I will note that in our review, we asked for specifics of how they're going to carry out the work, and they did not really provide the specifics that we were looking for, whereas Powers provided to the point exactly what he would be doing and how. So that is somewhat concerning. We don't know how they're actually going to carry out the work, and that is concerning to me. It's not a major concern. We have worked with them in the past, and they are a good consultant, but they didn't really follow the.
Well, I get that. It sounds to me like Powers probably, because they've done a lot of business with us, knows exactly what you're looking for in a proposal. Ecological Concerns has not had that much business with us. I don't recall. It hasn't been nearly as much as Powers, let's put it that way.
Yes.
And, I want to make sure that we're not being so rigid around that kind of thing that we lose forest for the trees. Okay, I mean, I know that the pun was there, but I really don't think that we want to go with Powers on that one.
Or that you don't.
That I don't. Well, I don't think we should.
I understand.
Okay, in general, but it is my opinion.
Yes. Okay. All right. Brian?
I don't have a strong opinion about this. I don't have particular questions. At least I did not coming into this. I am surprised at the nature of this discussion that the work was not scoped in a way that would allow for apples to apples comparison, or for the contractors to have a clear set of instructions to follow, that would allow cost to be the primary consideration in determining the winning bidder. So I guess I'm still absorbing the conversation, and I think a lot of very salient points have been raised that make me question whether the recommended action makes sense.
Okay. Director Russ.
Thank you. Chris, I know very little about, I guess, the decision matrix that you weigh the 10 different proposals against. Do you recall about what the cost factor is in that?
30%.
Wow, okay.
Substantial.
That's, yeah, okay, I understand now. So 70% are other more qualitative factors like specificity and how the work's being done, et cetera. Okay. So
There's a number of other categories, yeah, that have.
gotcha. Right. Well, I guess 9 other categories, right? Okay. And I guess the other question is that when this RFP went out to these 10 folks, was it understood that the amount of money that is available is this grant of 171,000? So it was not. Okay.
I did not want people to tailor their bids to a specific pool of money, essentially.
Okay.
I want to get their price per site, essentially, and then use that to
Okay.
kind of
But wait a minute. I mean, it was public knowledge that we had received this grant, was it not?
yes, but
So maybe they put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah,
The knowledgeable bidder.
yeah,
They should be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should have gone to look.
Yeah.
Well, the reason I ask is that in looking at the powers numbers, because what we wanted is 20 acres cleared and then 37 infrastructure sites cleared to a 100-foot radius, right?
And I think that is intended as the 20 acres largely is within those 37 infrastructure sites. We put out both of those. The infrastructure sites are a priority, to be clear, but there is also some of the acreage along roadside that
Right.
will be completed if there is extra money in the budget.
Right, and Powers bid, 100 feet on either side of 1,000-foot road, so that's the 5 acres they bid. But when you look at the cost per site that they gave, it doesn't nearly cover 37 infrastructure sites. It may, and it wasn't clear, I couldn't read how many of the 5,000 per site there were and how many of the 14,000 per site there were. And my guess is that we're nowhere near covering 37, that we're probably lucky to cover half or a third of that. And so I was just concerned that we've got this grant and it's an opportunity. It's money that we should use really efficiently. I guess I was concerned that, especially hearing that the cost is only 30%, it would be great to see how much of the 37 infrastructure sites that each of these 10 bidders actually cover. And then maybe you take a look at, what kind of references do they have? Have we done work with them before? That kind of thing. Because really the goal is to get these 37 sites done and a clearance along the road. And it sounds like we're really missing a big chunk of that.
Yeah, I think some of the bids could complete all 37 sites within budget.
Within the 171?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but not all of them. I would say maybe a few of them.
Okay. What do you think Powers covers? How much?
Where do you think? You just multiply that number by
Yeah, because the 5 acres was 65,000.
6,500. So
Yeah, and that left. Yeah, so it was 106,000 remainder. No, 101,000 remainder to cover 30.
26.
I'm sorry.
26.
26
essentially site. Yeah, and that's assuming that all of the sites are like the example that I gave, which was a pretty heavily forested area. I will note that a lot of these sites have been maintained or were previously maintained in our last round.
Yep.
And so it'll be more of a maintenance than a full-on going in and starting a new defensible space. So I would expect that we would honestly complete all of it within the budget. But yeah, it's not exactly.
So do you actually expect Powers to actually be able to complete it all?
I think it's possible, not the roadside clearance. The infrastructure sites are our priority. But yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Director Foltz was, had the information on the, second bidder as to their, pricing. What was that?
Sorry, can you say that again?
The price that the, is ecological concerns, submitted? What was that?
Let me find.
I'm hearing it's considerably cheaper, but what's considerably? So because a lot of scoring that I've ever done like this, there's some subjectivity to it. So to Director Foltz's point of one is scored at 92 and the other one is scored at 91. Well, I agree with him. That's the same number.
Yeah, and
Statistically, it's the same number.
Even if it is scored significantly different, we can choose who we would like to choose.
Exactly, but I'm trusting the evaluation that the staff is doing, but the statistical difference in one being at 91 and the other one being at 92, if there's a significant difference in cost, and that's where I'm trying to see, what's the difference in cost?
So the ecological concerns proposal came in at 4,500 per day, and that is with 4 crew and a chipper, 4,500. Powers came in at
Like 65 or something, right? Yeah.
So 4,500. Powers came in at 7,500 with 7 crew and a slightly bigger chipper.
So the total number though, I'm looking here is when it says 100 feet around water tank, that means for all the water tanks.
It's an infrastructure site, essentially, I think is the
Well,
idea.
they're going to charge 22,400 per site. And then they said here 100 feet from edge of road, 1,000 feet long, $40,000. I mean, my sense here is, and this is one of the things that I've seen happen, which is we sort of land on somebody, but the full scope isn't really either presented to the committee or the board. In fact, I don't think this came to the committee. I'm pretty sure it didn't, right?
I don't believe it.
Yeah, because we haven't had environmental committee meetings for a while.
Okay.
And
in the last 2 months.
Right.
And I'm just not sure this is ready yet. I mean, I can't vote for it.
I'm hearing enough, other questions from board members that I have to agree with Director Foltz that and I don't like well, let me do the math on that right here and tell you what we're doing between you, Bob and Bob. We're doing some of that tonight, the math to figure out, well, which of these are, and how much cheaper, how much. I'm not ready to make a motion the way this is right now, but I don't know how the rest of.
I can't go forward tonight. I want to. I think it's a valuable project to do, but I can't do it tonight.
Could I ask what info you guys would like for if I'm gonna bring it back?
I would suggest maybe the top, maybe a little bit more information. Yeah, the top 3.
Top 3.
And maybe more, if it's possible. And I know it's not exactly apples to apples, but Powers, ecological, and maybe the next player.
How many sites are they
How
going to
many
do?
sites can
What's
they
the
do?
cost?
What's the cost for
Financial analysis?
Yeah,
Exactly. Do the financial analysis. Don't make us figure out or try to do that comparison. I expect, staff to be able to do that analysis, say, based on your analysis of the finance, of what their financial proposals are, here's how they three sort out.
And then if there are other qualitative, I mean, there's a quantitative and a qualitative aspect to this, obviously. The quantitative is the numbers. If there's a qualitative concern that you have that ecological concerns simply cannot function or cannot perform or what have you, then that needs to be part of the
For
analysis
me,
as
the
well.
references checks
Yeah,
or some other intangibles that you're seeing in the proposals, and I don't recommend that you bring their full-on proposals to us so that we have a 60-page agenda item with all of the details. Give us the summary of
I do have them. So, but yeah,
Well,
but no, you're right. We don't need that, but I think we need a little bit more than what we're currently have.
I agree.
and I would, I guess, because of where we live, mitigating trees is gonna be a part of our, what we're gonna be doing for a century, right? And so I see very little harm in, especially if companies are competitive, of spreading the wealth a little bit and sort of, encouraging 2 or 3 companies to give us good bids, and they know that we'll give them the business. So,
Right.
Good point.
Can I make a comment? So I guess one of the things that I'm confused about is in the memo, what I see is that the hazard fuel reduction treatments will create defensible space around the 37 infrastructure sites and remove ladder fuels. I presume the second bullet is remove ladder fuels on 20 acres of natural vegetation surrounding infrastructure facilities. But what I'm hearing is that the proposal from the consultant is not to deliver that outcome, but is instead to put in an effort-based amount of work where they're going to show up with a crew for a certain amount of days and work presumably towards that outcome up to some agreed upon price limit. Is that correct?
Yes.
I see. Okay. And I guess to that, I would feel much comfortable having a contractor bid on completing a certain level of delivered outcome rather than a certain degree of effort. Because
You're looking for a firm fixed price per site or something like that, right?
Or closer to that, I think is what
Okay.
you're describing, Brian. And is this based on your work experiences that you've had it done that way?
I think contractors often prefer to bill hourly.
Yes, right.
And,
Yes, of course.
and owners prefer to have confidence that they're going to get the outcome. So yes, wherever I'm in a position to negotiate for an outcome-based contract, I prefer to do that.
Yes, okay.
It's kind of hard because the grant said both those infrastructure sites, but then also roadside clearance and
Yes,
I
understand.
but it didn't say how much to each, right?
said the 37, then I think it did say maybe 20 acres, but the grant was kind of hastily written and it's also winding down. We have to spend this money by March of 2026. So yeah, I hear what you're saying. I did struggle with this a lot in terms of how to actually go about the RFQ and to implement it.
Right.
So I think you can maybe see that.
Okay. And I don't want to put words in your mouth, Brian, but I don't think you're recommending or requiring go back and redo this RFQ for this one.
No, I'm just trying to understand. And I guess
Future.
the struggle I have with it is that if the ecological concerns proposal is cheaper, is it cheaper because they're going to do less stuff? Is it cheaper because their cost per day is lower? In which case, well, maybe they just work for more days to get the same amount of production done.
Yeah.
And so I just struggle with the apples to apples comparison of price to productivity and what we're getting for the money. So I don't know.
Understand. Right.
So if you can bring it back with some reconciliation of these conflicting sources of information.
Of everything that you've heard from the four of us this evening, to bring back, for in further information on the three top ones that you had, and tell us.
And how are they supervised, Chris? Whoever is awarded the contract, I mean, how would we sort of be on top of it?
It would either be our ops or us, or environmental rather. And we would basically just go out and check on them every so often, make sure that the work is being carried out according to plan. We could hire a RPF to oversee that RPF, but I don't think that's
Right.
usually necessary. And we have experience with both of those two top firms, so we have faith in them. But yeah, just kind of following up and making sure.
Okay.
It's an important plan.
I live across from a tank. I don't know who did it the last time, but you know, they did a really good job. I mean, it's
Okay.
very
Yeah.
clear. I mean, in fact, I would have taken more trees down, but that's another topic.
Okay. So we're not prepared to make a motion on this item this evening.
Could I just ask one other question?
Sure.
So given the grant deadline of March, do you have time to contract and execute this work with a delay of another month potentially?
2 weeks.
2 weeks? 2 weeks.
So
Okay.
yeah,
November 4th.
both ecological concerns and Powers Forestry. I'm not sure about the third one, but both of them indicated that they're ready to start immediately upon execution. So
Okay, great. And I just want to applaud the work to get this money in and spend it on fire related infrastructure improvements.
Okay,
Thanks, Chris.
all right. Does anybody from the public want to comment on this item? Seeing none in the room or online, we'll move on then. The 5 Mile hazardous tree mitigation contract.
that will be Chris again. Thank you. So for our 5 Mile hazard tree mitigation contracts, we have approximately like 750 hazardous trees along the 5 Mile pipeline. And we are looking to have the California Conservation Corps come out and mitigate those trees. Other costs that come along with the CCC doing this work include bathroom rentals for them as they will be camping on site, registered professional forester supervision, nesting bird surveys. Those are the 3 other costs. The CCC performed the same work with the same crew leader on the Peavine pipeline, and they did a tremendous job. 3 of the people from that crew have also received jobs in the industry since that project, and kind of cited our project as a huge kind of impetus to get them there. So we have, kind of a workforce development element of this too. One of them is at State Parks and 2 with the Forest Service. I think that's really cool to be able to be a part of local workforce development. These trees that need to be removed or mitigated, as some may say, they need to be removed independent of the pipeline replacement project, but they would also be the first step towards replacing the pipeline. The trail provides access across our property. It kind of bisects our biggest property. And it also reduces some of the fuels, and at least the standing fuels, and kind of gets them on the ground and starts them rotting, which helps to reduce fuel limits. The crew from the CCC is grant funded, and they are a competitive crew. So they are first come, first serve in terms of working for people. The total cost for this project to the district would be $95,000 from the CCC alone. With all the other costs, it adds up to $128,000. And we would be receiving $560,000 in grant funded labor from the CCC. We expect FEMA to cover 90% of the cost of the district's costs for this. And to throw another kind of wrench in this, we also use this project to apply for the recent CAL FIRE fire prevention grant. So we utilize the labor that the CCC is providing, that $560,000.
we use that as our match or our cost share on the grant application to try to get more hazard fuel reduction money. So essentially, we're using their match to get free money to do work. And because of that, we shifted the project timeline. Originally, we were looking to start in fall of this year, but because the grant will be awarded until sometime in winter, maybe January of next year, we have shifted the project back to start in February or March of next year. And if the grant is awarded to us for that, that would cover more of our costs for this project. And we would still hope that FEMA would cover the rest of the costs, although they would be lesser. The district has already invested $200,000 in this project in the tree survey, which happened, and our environmental review, which is underway. The environmental committee recommended board of directors approval, but I will note that there have been 3 changes since that approval happened. The start shifted, as I mentioned, because it was included in the grant. And we have an additional cost for nesting bird surveys because of the timeline shift. And it was included in the grant, was the 3rd change. So yeah, with that, I will open it up to you guys for questions.
Okay. All right. So the environmental committee discussed this before. And I'd like to hear from you, Director Fultz.
Yeah, no, I mean, this absolutely want to move forward with it. And the vendors are all okay in this case. But I think we need to sort of readjust our thinking about FEMA funding when saying what it's going to cost us. I'm not expecting FEMA money for years and years and years.
If at all.
There's a possibility that it might be, if at all. And so I think we need as a district to get into the mindset when we're working on projects that FEMA money is not coming, or if it is coming, it's going to be very, very delayed. Even if we apply everything we can do to make it happen. I think there's just so much sclerosis inside of the federal government right now. We're not going to get much. And candidly, the disaster in LA and Tennessee, we're so far down on the priority list. They probably can't even see us. So it's just a general thing from my point of view that we ought to do as a district. Other than that, I had the 90,000 in my mind, but I appreciate the fact that you adjusted the thinking around the 120 by adding everything together. Just from a presentation point of view, tables really help summarize data very quickly. And so I encourage you to use that, whether anybody else does or not, they'll be able to say. If we get the grant, great, but we're going to be getting the Peavine water online in the next year or so, right, Garrett?
Yes.
And so getting back to 60% of our North Raw water line is great. If this is delayed a few more months and we continue to operate under an emergency declaration that allows us to share water from anywhere in the district to anywhere in the district for another year or 2, I have no problem with that. I think it actually goes a long way to strengthening our EIR on our water rights application. And because we will be able to demonstrate this is how we're operating. And that way we can deal with all of Santa Cruz's bogus concerns that have put us into this state that we are now. So let's do it. Thank you for bringing it.
All right, Brian.
I have no questions. I am surprised that the seas can handle hazard trees. That's remarkable, and I'm good to go.
Okay,
Brian, if you have a chance to walk the Peavine line, if you haven't done it yet, please do. I mean, you can see their work. It's actually pretty spectacular. I think there was only one tree that was still hung up that they had to deal with when I walked it. They did a really good job.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Wow. Yeah, just briefly, I mean, this sounds great. So this grant is basically in place. It can't be taken away. It's just a question of timing, or
In terms of the CCC
CCC,
labor, yeah, the CCC are funded.
That's
It's just in terms of us getting on their schedule and
You
getting them in
recently-
to do the work.
Okay, no, that's great. And I guess power supervision looks like it's budgeted for 6 days. How long is the full CCC work supposed to take?
A long time. It's 32 spikes, which each spike is or it's 16 spikes. Each spike is 2 legal weeks, so it's 32 weeks total. But Powers is not out there every day.
Okay, that's
Their crew lead, I believe, is a RPF, the CCC crew lead, and so he's there day to day and is making sure everything is following line.
okay.
We just like to have someone extra out there to make sure everything is going according to plan. He'll help like mark out anything special, any kind of like specialty trees. He might give them techniques or whatever. Yeah, it's just good to have someone out there with some more experience.
Okay, no, I was just curious, like how much overlap would they be providing? But it sounds like if it's 32 weeks of work and they Powers is gonna provide 6 days, they're really only there once a month.
Yeah, it's an occasional checkup.
Okay, all right, okay, no, sounds great, thank you.
Okay. I'm conflicted on this. We have been talking about doing the Peavine project, which burned 5 years ago, for several years now. And we're getting closer on that one. But I don't expect that we're gonna be able to do Peavine for at least another year and a half. Thereabouts, to have it in place. And we were hoping to have information, particularly costs and implementability from Peavine to be able to then assess the rest of this 5 mile to see what are our costs to bring on these additional sources of water. And I appreciate being able to use CCC and the significant cost savings that we have, but we still have to spend money, being the 128, to get the CCC out there. The memo stated something about we're protecting with taking the trees down, removing hazards. But from my perspective, we don't have any pipeline in place out there right now. So we don't have anything to protect. I recognize before we go out to do significant work, we need to have the trees mitigated, but I don't have a feel that we're going to be there anytime in the next 2-3 years until we have the costs data and the implementability from doing this on Peavine to be able to use this. So just a comment. I can
Mark,
leave that open to.
can I offer a thought on that then?
Sure.
While I'm not necessarily in a hurry to get things done and restore service to both Clear and Sweetwater Creeks, I do think in order for us to continue presenting the reality that we are moving in the direction of restoring our pre-1914 water rights, which are the most valuable water rights
Yes, I agree.
around.
Yeah. Mhm.
I think we need to continue to make those very concrete steps along the way. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Before we invest the big bucks,
And without showing some progress, the longer we
Wait,
go,
yes.
the less
Yeah.
likely that we're going to be able
Yeah.
to, from a permitting aspect and from other agencies.
I just think I think
Yeah,
there's-
I agree what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. The longer we're without it, do you really need it?
yeah, do you really need it?
Do you really need it? And not us questioning it here internally, but other agencies that are gonna be looking at a permit down the line to say, wait, stop.
Yeah, because we are in the water rights process still.
Exactly. Okay. And the FEMA aspect, I agree with what Bob is saying on. It seems unlikely to me that we're gonna be able to get that. So,
But there really aren't alternate places to use the CCC grant, right?
well, to use the CCC crew,
The crew.
the crews, no, we're not gonna try to use them someplace else. This hazardous.
Or nothing.
Yeah, it's that or not.
We're nothing. Okay, we're nothing, right? So, um, given, what I've just heard, 128 to show progress, getting these historic water rights back in place. Okay. I can appreciate that. Yeah. Okay. Does anybody from the public want to comment on this? Seeing none. And nobody online. I'd like somebody else to make this.
I'll do that. I move that the board directs the general manager to enter into contracts with the California Conservation Corps, Powers Forestry, United Rentals, and Harrison Associates for 5 Mile pipeline hazardous tree mitigation.
I will second that.
President Smalley,
Yes.
Director Largay,
Yes.
Director Russ,
Yes.
and Director Polts.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay, the RGS contract amendment.
That will be.
Okay.
In October 2023, following the resignation of the district's Director of Finance, the district entered into a contract with Regional Government Services, RGS, to provide financial management consulting support. Since that time, the contract has been amended 5 times to increase the not to exceed amount, expand the scope of work, and extend the termination date. As of June 30th, 2025, the district has paid all invoices submitted, with $35,916 remaining on the current contract. Staff is now recommending Amendment 6, which would extend the contract term through June 30th of 2026. Increase the not to exceed amount by $36,400 for a total contract amount of $281,700. Add FEMA project reimbursement management support to the scope of services in addition to the existing finance related support. There are sufficient appropriations in the fiscal year 25-26 budget to cover the proposed increase. From an environmental perspective, this action is categorically exempt under CEQA as it represents an administrative activity with no physical environmental impact. Staff respectfully recommend board approval of the amendment number 6 to the RGS contract.
Okay. And did either of the committees,
No, not budgeted.
No.
Didn't come before budget.
No.
okay, all right. Then, questions on this? Director Russ, let's go to you.
Is it, what's the estimate for how long this would carry us through?
Until we get a new finance manager, which we have in the process. We're in the, hopefully the final stretch. We have interviews scheduled. So
Yeah, so I mean, I was just looking, historically, it's averaged about 13,000 a month for RGS's services. So I look at the 36,000 and think, well, maybe that's about 3 months worth of work. Does that sound about?
plus the 35 that's still remaining, so we got 6
Oh.
months total,
Oh,
but
so 6
yeah,
months, okay. So you see, this is assisting the director of finances in a transition.
it'll help with the transition.
Okay. Okay, and you feel that it's necessary.
It's a not to exceed, and it does give us the ability to use them to help with the transition process. I'm hoping that it'll be limited. You know, we have some very strong candidates, so.
And so if the director of finance, after being on board for a month or two, says, you know, I'm good,
Then
then
we
we
will
can terminate
no
it
longer
at that
use them.
point. Okay, all right, sounds good. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, same question, so I'll go to a different one. On the FEMA work, what, given the management analyst.
Again, that's a transitional thing to bring that
Okay.
person up to speed.
Okay, so this is all really focused on keep doing what you're doing till we hire which hopefully will be in the next month or so.
Correct.
Fingers crossed. And then some amount of transition, which would be determined by how quickly the two new people can come up to speed.
Right.
I don't think that sounds like June 30th, 2026, but I get why you're putting there at the, yeah, I'm hopeful this is all sort of cleared by like, October, November at the latest.
As am I.
Yeah, okay, great, thank you.
Right.
I don't have any questions. I guess my only comment is that I think Heather has done a terrific job for the district through her work via RGS. And while I'm very much looking forward to in-house finance director coming on, it's been great working with Heather. So I'll just tip my hat to her. I don't have any questions.
Okay. I see that Amendment 6 is already signed and dated. Did you issue that to RGS already?
It is pending board approval.
Okay,
Yes.
all right. So you're holding it
Yep.
then until board approves.
Yep.
Okay, all right. Okay, that's the only question I had on. My other questions are already covered. Okay, does anybody from the public wish to comment on this one? Seeing none, I'll move that the board approves amendment number 6 to the Regional Government Services contract.
I'll second.
Okay,
President Smalley,
yes.
Director Largay,
Yes.
Director Russ.
Yes.
And Director Schultz.
Yes.
Motion's
The water bill adjustment policy.
Heather.
Good evening, Board. The action before you tonight is to adopt a resolution approving the water bill adjustment policy. This policy, currently the rules and regulations section 10.4 establishes a formal policy for customers to request a water bill adjustment from the district in writing if their bill is unusually high due to water loss beyond the meter. This policy was last updated with the adoption of the rules and regulations on February 6th, 2016. Procedures for addressing water bill adjustments have evolved to the point where the rules and regulations and the operating procedures documented on the district's websites, and those procedures are the procedures that staff follows, are no longer in agreement. Staff is proposing revisions to those rules and regulations, now to be referred to as the water bill adjustment policy, to bring that policy in line with operating procedures. Certain significant differences include the current policy does not specify a time restriction on when to apply for the credit, where the current operating procedures specify within 90 days from the due date printed on the customer's bill. The current policy only allows for an adjustment one time per customer account, where the current operating procedures allow for an adjustment one time per customer account within a 5-year period. The current operating procedures also allow for an additional adjustment if a larger leak is found within the 5-year period. And they would get that difference between the larger leak and the first leak. The current policy only allows the adjustment to span one billing cycle, where the current operating procedures allow the adjustment to span 2 billing cycles. The current policy calculates the credit based on an unclear formula, where the current operating procedures calculates the credit using a more comprehensible method. The current policy allows for a 24-month repayment plan, where the current operating procedures only allow for a 12-month repayment plan. Revising this policy as proposed will provide clarity and efficiencies, as well as bring the operating procedures and board adopted policy in alignment. At the request of the Budget and Finance Committee, staff has attached 2 years of leak adjustment history. This information is also provided in the board quarterly reports in the finance status reports. That concludes staff's presentation. I'm here for questions.
Okay. I see that the Budget and Finance Committee, previously looked at this. Brian, any input or comment on that discussion?
Yeah, I don't have any questions. I'm comfortable with this. I think that this is a overdue remodel of and I'm glad that we're attending to cleaning up policies that don't make a lot of sense. And I think that's what this accomplishes. Hopefully it will result in more straightforward implementation in the future.
Okay. And Director Russ?
Yeah, I agree with Brian, having been on the budget committee, we looked at this and the current policy is pretty confusing. And so aligning it with in this way, I think makes a lot of sense. And obviously, given the history, a lot of people have taken advantage of it, including myself, actually. So I'm all for it.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, my guess is this divergence happened because we're managing two documents. So it's still not clear to me whether we're going to continue managing two documents, which really just increases the odds that, you know, variations are going to go in the future. Normally, what I do in my practice is the policy will refer to procedures, or you have one document that covers both the policy and the procedure. I mean, I guess if you guys want to manage two documents, it's up to you, but I really recommend against it. Heather?
Was that a question for me?
Yeah.
Sorry,
Are we managing two documents going forward or only one?
Are you talking about the rules and regulations and this new bill adjustment policy?
Well, is this new thing that we're talking about going to be resident in two separate documents or in one?
It's going to be in one and removed from the rules and regulations. But it's to my understanding that it was only in one prior to this proposal in the rules and regulations, and that they were not being followed.
I'm still that even confuses me more because you said there's a variation between the policy and the rules and regulations.
Yeah, the policy,
the procedures.
Right. There was some procedures listed on the website. That was just procedures to assist customers in applying for their bill adjustment.
Oh, sorry, that wasn't clear. It sounded to me like there was a policy document and a procedure document, which is okay if you have one refer to the other. But you're saying there's really only one document, the policy document?
There's the policy document that is the rules and regulations right now. And staff created I'll say a customer assistance document that is listed on the website.
So we do have two documents that we are managing, and that's why the divergence happened.
I'm not sure why the divergence happened, but I'll say yes, there are two documents.
Well, most likely because there's two documents and someone didn't remember to update them. Okay, well, as long as there's only one going forward, I'm happy, but I'll vote for it anyway, even if it's two. I think it's better only to manage one.
I agree.
I appreciate the desire to standardize.
Yes.
And bring policy that reflects what makes sense, because it sounds like what makes sense were the procedures and what we were writing. But then we didn't go back to the original document to say, oh, so getting that done now, good. Okay. Any comments from public on this?
This seems like another example where the staff has been freewheeling and not following board policy. So it almost seems to me like maybe when someone starts to work here, they should be given a few pages from the water code that say that the board's in charge here. The board acts by resolution, ordinance, motion, and it always takes 3 board members to set a policy. Those are basics. That's
gentlemen.
That's where the authority comes from in state law for everything that goes on here. It comes from state law to the board, and then the board sets all the policies. So this is just another example where that didn't happen. I think the loop should be tighter. It shouldn't take, it's been 9 years since 2016. And the loop should be a little tighter, and staff needs to understand that they need to follow board policy. They're not trying to figure it out on their own, based on what's convenient that day, based on what phone call they've gotten from what customer. They just need to refer to the policies and procedures manual, follow what has been voted on here. And if there's anything about that that's uncomfortable, that doesn't make sense, they should feed it right back to the board in less than 9 years. Thanks.
Okay. Anybody else commenting on this? Seeing none online. I'll make the motion that the board adopt the resolution approving the water bill adjustment policy.
I will
Is there-
second that.
Point of order, is there a resolution associated with that?
Yeah, there is.
I think we need to,
Page 116.
I think do we need to reference that there's a revolution? Yeah, okay.
Yes,
Page 116.
thank you.
I mean,
So
you want to restate?
please, amendment. Yeah,
Sorry, I gotta
Um,
do the right language.
I'm searching for the resolution.
291, page, or if you go to page 116 of
116.
291 pages. That's-
Right. okay,
Well, yeah,
that's
but
what I'm looking
the recommended motion says,
Right. I recommend that, the board, I'm making a motion that the board, recommend the adoption of a resolution, approving the water bill adjustment policy. And the resolution is attached for the approval of water bill adjustment policy. So thought I stated resolution.
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I did now.
Yes,
Okay. All right.
I'll second that.
President Molly,
Yes.
Director Larday,
Yes.
Director Russ.
Yes.
And Director Holmes.
Yes.
Motion's passed.
Okay, moving on to the Belton Heights tank land acquisition. That's Garrett? Okay.
Yes, so the matter before the board is to authorize the general manager and legal counsel to purchase a 0.70 acre portion of the Erickson property located at 900 Shingle Mill Lane in Belton. Staff has already completed a site survey. We've completed a geotechnical investigation showing the site is viable. The civil engineer has completed conceptual site plan and a conceptual site section through the site showing the proposed tank and a possible future pump station and drainage that will bypass a neighbor adjacent to the land acquisition that we're seeking. The surveyor has created a topographic survey showing the area that we're acquiring. We've completed a land appraisal, and the land appraisal indicates that we should pay $20,000 to get the 0.7 acres. And so staff is recommending that we proceed and the board authorizes to proceed. Without taking any questions.
Okay. I'm not aware that any of the committees, there's no prior committee action, so start with you, Brian.
I was a little confused about this, just in that it sounds like we're not purchasing the entirety of the parcel. And I wonder if that implies a lot line adjustment or some way of breaking the parcel up, and if there are costs associated with that. But maybe I misunderstood.
You're correct. We're buying a portion of an existing parcel.
And are there legal process steps or fees associated with the subdivision of that parcel, or a lot line adjustment to allow that acquisition?
Since you're saying legal, Barbara, could you
Yeah.
comment?
Yeah, there'll be a lot line adjustment. It'll be its own legal lot.
Gotcha. And is this, are we being asked to approve the purchase, including the lot line adjustment? Is that all part of the purchase? Or there'll be additional steps and costs?
There'll be additional costs. This will be the amount that we're offering the landowner for this 0.7 acre portion of property.
Okay, great. Thank you. That's all I got.
Yeah, there'll still be negotiations with the property owner and drafting the, purchase and sale agreement. You gotta, et cetera, et cetera.
It's gonna be a few $1,000s more.
Sure.
Director Ross?
Yeah, thanks. In looking at the package, are there any other easements or access issues that we need to be aware of, or the fact that it's that little, and it's out of a 65 acre parcel, so it's a huge
correct.
parcel.
That's
So
correct.
we're basically taking 0.7 acres out of this giant parcel.
Yes, sir.
Right, okay, so, and so as far as you can tell, there, we have all the easements and access that we need to get into the site, to use it efficiently.
Correct. There is an existing easement to get over to Felton Empire. And so the thought in the future for the future pump station is to put a pipeline from this tank site over to Felton Empire, but that will be a whole separate project. For now, we're just concerned with building the new tank. We're in design right now with the civil engineering firm. So if we can buy the land and we can do the environmental work that we have to do so that we can develop this land, this is timberland, undeveloped, then we can hire a contractor to build retaining walls and build a tank.
Okay. And it didn't look like there were many trees in that, at least not any big ones that showed up on the survey.
There are trees. There are Doug fir trees or redwood trees. So initially the tank was going to be located on the north side of the easement, and the neighborhood had concerns with that location. So at the behest of the neighborhood, the tank was relocated to the south side of the easement, so it'll be behind a redwood grove. There are several fir trees in the proposed tank site that would have to be cut down.
Okay. And is this an eminent domain process, or is it just negotiation?
This would be a purchase from the landowner.
Okay.
With their consent.
And they're willing and.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes.
And as an aside, it's 120,000 gallon tank, right? Or 100,000
Correct. It's
gallon?
120,000 gallon usable, so it'll be 167,000 gallon nominal.
Ah, I was wondering about that. Okay, because the extra height was a lot of extra gallons, and I was wondering. Okay.
Well, so typically there's a amount of freeboard required for sloshing and if there's a seismic event.
Ah.
And then also you have operating heights where you're going to have an overflow above that. So if for some reason the pump is running, it'll hit the overflow.
Gotcha.
And then, as people are using the water, the tank level is lowered. And then the SCADA should click on, turn the pumps on, refill the tank.
Gotcha. Okay. And just out of curiosity, with a new engineer on board, is this something that you could theoretically do in the future? I mean, do the civil engineering associated with it? Or is it really
Yes.
beyond scope?
So at my last work, I was a design engineer. And so that's what we did at my previous work.
Yeah.
And so my focus was a lot on structural design and civil design.
Yeah.
So right now, the team that we have designing the tanks, there's a civil engineer, a structural engineer, there's a hydraulic engineer, there's an electrical engineer for the PG&E drop and the generator and the gas lines. And so there's a whole team of people that really put these things together.
All right.
Geotechnical engineer, surveyor.
Very good.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Director Foles?
Garrett, in your list of all the work that's been done, did you mention geotech? Has that been done?
Yes, so the geotechnical report is complete and the site is viable, as long as we follow the recommendations in the geotechnical report.
And this parcel is completely outside of the easement area, correct?
A portion of it is in the easement area, but the tank site location is outside of the easement.
Okay, so in terms of Mr. Erickson, Has he agreed to that location of part of the parcel being in the easement area? And has he agreed to this price?
So we've had discussions with the
Or
landowner.
is this a surprise to him?
We've had discussions with the landowner and he had concerns about, he didn't want to do an easement. He wanted the district to purchase outright a portion of his property. Another request he had was that we purchase all the way up to the property line with the neighbor. He didn't want to have a sliver of land between the district-owned property
Yep, makes sense.
and the neighboring property.
Yep.
And so we accommodated his request in the layout with the civil engineer and the surveyor.
And he's given a thumbs up on the layout.
We still have to negotiate the price and the exact limits of the land, and that's what we're asking the board to authorize us to do,
Okay.
based
so-
on the land appraisal.
Okay, so we don't have a deal yet with him. It doesn't sound like. Okay, got it. So 20,000, he may ask for more.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay,
It's
all right,
possible.
all right. The other thing I want to make sure that we're all aware of is, while this tank is on the, list that was approved by the board, capital improvement list over 5 years is approved by the board, since only about half of that is funded or would be funded under the borrowing. If this tank isn't done under that borrowing, this tank won't be built till sometime 2030 or what have you, unless additional money comes in from FEMA or some other grant we get, something. So has that situation changed at all?
I would also say that there's a possibility if the real project costs come in lower than the budgeted amounts, we could spend money on this tank site, because it will be designed. And if we own the land and it's ready to go, and we have $1 million that we need to spend, because we're not spending it fast enough, then we whip it out and we go into construction.
I appreciate that, but that is not a guarantee. And I think what we need to do as a board, and this is my opinion, I'm not saying go do it, I'm just saying, this is my opinion. The Felton Heights people have been waiting since 2012, is that correct? For a tank. We're now in year 12. And if we don't step up and make this a guaranteed part of that 19 million, we can't promise them it's going to be built anytime prior to the next rate increase, which is post 2028, unless we did something in the interim, or unless we get FEMA money. That is not a place I want them to be, personally. I think they've waited long enough. And this is one of the reasons why in the capital improvement policy, these kinds of situations get elevated in the way that with the previous management, they were not. They were danced around the room for years. So I appreciate everything's being done. We got to get this done in order to make it happen. But this needs to go on the project list, and I would like to see that come back for at least a discussion. Can that be an agenda item as well? The capital improvement list and where we're going to draw the line and what goes above the line and what goes below the line? Or do we want to go to engineering committee first?
Had a round of that already. We've had some discussion of that in the engineering committee.
We have not drawn a line.
But I think that discussing that at an engineering committee meeting, since that's where we started with the capital improvements budget.
I think we need to be looking at, if we're borrowing 19 million, we got 45 million of projects. What's above the line?
Yeah.
Period.
And now that, and a lot of that CFP budget was prior to July 1st. Being Jason's.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Having his input into that. Yeah, would be good. So, yeah, add that to engineering committee for a future agenda item, I think is appropriate.
I would like to see, yeah, I would like to see that fairly soon because time's a ticking.
I agree.
Yeah.
Gary, I'm curious, what do you think our all-in costs will end up being by the time we sit down and negotiate with the owner? For the geotech, for the civil, you know?
We budgeted over $1 million for the tank. Is that what you're talking about?
No, what does the district have at hard costs so far? Or our costs, not obviously no consumption.
So
maybe.
For the civil engineering design, we bundled up 5 tanks all together and gave a contract for over $500,000.
Okay.
Now we have a grant from DWR. They're giving us $4.5 million. The district's required to contribute a $1.5 million match. We've already constructed one of the tanks. So Blue Ridge tank is constructed. It's in use. This is north of Boulder Creek off of Kings Creek Road. So the remaining 5 tanks are in design by Massey Miller Engineering. We've completed the geotechnical investigation for all 5 sites. We've completed a survey for all 5 sites.
But
We have the Highland tank.
Can I help out?
Bob's question was, how much have you spent on this one?
Can I help out? It's in Heather's report.
Oh, okay.
At least the 2024, 25 actual is just about 58,000 for this site. That's the Lost Acres Water Tank Project, Felton Heights.
Okay.
And the budget on it was
that's where your
That's what I was
question
just-
was, not the bigger.
Because a lot of work's been done and it looks really good. And I was just curious, you
Yes.
know,
How
how
much
much the
is-
cost.
Staff intends to build this tank as quickly as possible.
And the budget on it was 500,000, which I think is light.
For building.
Yeah.
Very,
Very light.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. But, the motion in front of us tonight is the,
Authorization to purchase.
yeah,
Or negotiate, I guess, right?
yeah, to negotiate that. So, does anybody from the public wish to comment on this? Please.
My name is Bob Elliott. I live on Lost Acre Drive in Felton, and I've been waiting patiently with 4 of our neighbors to come up tonight. And thank you. And I want to start out by saying I addressed the board in April concerning this project. And I did want to thank you. You heard us and you moved forward in 4 months and done probably more work than the last 10 years. And we do appreciate the work that you've done. And if this does go to a motion that passes, we do hope that we continue this momentum and work with Mr. Erickson in a timely manner to get this land acquired and continue with construction. And again, if I can help in any way, please let me. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else wish to comment on this?
When you were talking about that $6.5 million designation of projects before, Mark, you said something like, we're not gonna pay for the Bracken Gray and Forest Springs consolidations. Something like that. You don't want district money to pay for those consolidations.
Correct.
So this was a consolidation. It was formerly a private mutual water association, 21 houses, as I recall. I was here in 2012. So my observation is that there have been a number of consolidations since 2012. This was one. Olympia was another one. And each one of these things is something of a negotiation. So if the district starts out saying, we're not paying for this, we're not using district funds for this consolidation, the response on the other side, if I put myself in the other people's shoes, the response is, wait a minute, you've got a whole district here and your assets are depreciated. Your assets are not brand new. So on average, your assets are probably halfway depreciated. And that means when the new people come along, if they pay 100% for all new stuff in their little neighborhood, then that's not really on equal terms with everybody else in the district. Because our stuff isn't brand new either. So the argument that they would say on the other side is, well, we feel that we should pay maybe half, because then we'll be invested in this new project equally to everybody else in the district, because the whole district is a halfway depreciated. And I don't think this kind of idea has ever been expressed. I think maybe you need a workshop or something to think about consolidations and who pays for what. I remember Jim Mueller was the general manager back in 2012 when this was negotiated. I know there was a packet. He had some kind of calculation and arrived at that. And it was the same thing with Olympia. They arrived at some kind of a cost sharing. So maybe, maybe this needs to be talked about a little bit more.
Okay.
how this works out. Maybe we need some input from engineers about this issue
thank
about who pays
But
for it.
but I think we have a motion in front of us here.
I'm just taking off on what you had said.
I understand that.
Mark, just to be really clear though, this was discussed in engineering committee, consolidation policy. And that kind of concept actually came up.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So I'd like to make the motion that the board directs the general manager and legal counsel to purchase 0.7 acre portion of the Erickson property located at 900 Shingle Mill Lane in Felton, APN number 64201-37, in an amount not to exceed $20,000 for the Felton Heights tank project.
I'll second that motion.
President Smalley,
Yes.
Director Largay,
Yes.
Director Russ.
Yes.
and Director Fox.
Yes.
Motion's
Thank you.
Yay.
Thank you for waiting this long to get to this item. I see 5 of you
My
were very
apologies,
interested in it.
my apologies for not recognizing earlier and asking that it be moved up, which I've done in the past.
So, but you get to see how the rest of these work. So I'd like to move on then to the local hazard mitigation plan. I believe Chris is addressing.
Anything with word hazard. Toss it over my way. Yeah, so I'm bringing the local hazard mitigation plan adoption resolution. So the district has finalized its local hazard mitigation plan. This was developed through a grant provided by Cal OES and carried out by our consultant navigating preparedness associate. This was brought to the board for review on February 6th of this year, as well as the environmental committee on February 27th. So we have the finalized plan, and the last steps are for our board to adopt a resolution, which adopts the plan as our local hazard mitigation plan. And then we submit that resolution to FEMA and they issue us final acceptance. And at that point, we then are able to apply for hazard mitigation grants. It opens up a whole new world of funding to us. This plan has a 5-year lifespan, and so it will be have to be updated in 5 years. Or our other option is to be incorporated into the county's multi-jurisdictional plan at that point. But that is down the road. This is just a resolution adopting this hazard mitigation plan as the district's plan.
Okay, all right. Director Foltz?
Maybe I downloaded the wrong agenda. Which item are we talking about here now?
Oh, the agenda was amended, so maybe it was a free.
It was amended, yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. But I could not find a copy of the plan itself in the.
I include a link. The plan is somewhere around like, I don't know, 200 and something pages.
Okay.
So
I missed that.
I figured it was maybe for the best not to include that.
Let me ask one question in the edits. One of the feedback items I had is that I think the hazard mitigation elevated sort of global warming or climate change issues to, like, top of the line. And it wasn't clear to me that that was, in fact, things that we could concretely act upon in a broad enough scale to justify that being number one. That is, there are other things that we have to worry about: mudslides, earthquakes, tree mitigation, heavy rain and the like, that are things that are much more likely to affect us within the next 1 to 5 to 10 years. Did that get adjusted at all? And again, I apologize because I completely missed Jen's email on that.
Yeah.
So.
I would have to look through the document. We obviously did take all the comments that we received from both the committee and the board into account.
I'm actually on that page.
Yeah,
I really wanted us to focus on those things that really directly affect us the most.
Right. Yep. So I agree. And I was surprised to see climate change. Anyway, the the top 10 hazard risks in order from number one. Number one, earthquake. Number two, wildland fire. Number three, climate change. Number four, drought. Number five, flood.
And see, to me, climate change and drought are, I mean, this whole thing, I get the climate change thing, and maybe that's positioning us for grants or opportunities or what have you. But I'm much more worried about earthquake, wildfire, mudslide, heavy rain. What was the other one? Drought. Than I am about climate change relative to what we have to worry about over the next 5 years and what we're going to do about it. Because candidly, at a climate change level for 8,000 subscribers, we're not even, you can't even measure it. So
I think the argument would be that climate change is driving more of those hazards, which, so it's like, it's not necessarily its own category that you are going to be addressing, but it will be strengthening the severity of.
okay, I get that, but what I put in my feedback, I think, to you was, let's list the things we can act on and have this separate category saying climate change is affecting all of these things. But these are the things we're really going to act on, because it being number three, I have no clue what we're going to do about it. None, zero. And I don't like putting together plans that don't have something that we can act on.
I think most of this is actable. I will note that it is a planning process that is procedural. You have to include certain things. And I believe that might be one of the things that needs to be included in the plan in order for it to be approved. So I hear what you're saying.
So what is it concretely that we're going to act upon in order to address our third most important hazard? And again, I apologize for not having seen the amendment.
Right. So
develop public messaging about water conservation to address climate change induced drought.
That's drought. That's if we're in a drought situation, which right now we aren't.
So I have this section of the plan open too. I think customarily, so the implication of climate change is that it makes everything else worse.
Okay.
And so it becomes a catch-all for making droughts worse, making fire more likely, making intense storms and landslides more likely. And that's why it ends up in the rubrics used to rank hazards, it ends up floating to the top because it's pushing everything somewhat. And that's just how it goes. I think from a tactical perspective and grant seeking from Cal OES, having climate a top scoring thing is advantageous.
Well, that's why I was asking if that's more of a political positioning type thing, rather than anything we're actually going to act upon specifically around climate change, independent of all the other impacts, drought, fire, slides, rain, etc.
Is there a reason it's not fifth and as opposed to third? I mean,
we went through a hazard scoring process.
Oh, no, not that.
Yeah.
Where did cost come in?
30%.
30%, okay. Okay.
Cybersecurity is tied for sixth.
And see, from my point of view, cybersecurity I would actually rank that higher.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just because maybe that's because of what I do. But the fact is, if someone is able to get in here, we're screwed. And without having that certification that we've gone through all the cybersecurity assessment, I get we have a lot of firewalls, but I've worked with companies that have lots of firewalls, and I was able to figure out how you can get into it. So anyway.
Okay.
I think my feedback said elevated, right? But okay.
No, okay.
All right.
Well, I guess I have to agree with Bob's comment that it's not, in my mind, it's not something directly actionable. I certainly understand it's kind of an overriding factor and lots of things. The only thing that may not be an overriding factor in is earthquakes. But who knows? And so I guess if we as a board and you really consider it important for positioning us to have a higher probability of getting the grants we want, then I'll play the game. But I think from a practical point of view, I would have put it at the bottom of a list of 10, or maybe 9th or 10th, I guess. And I would have rated cybersecurity more important. That's one of the reasons I had asked earlier about it, because I have read way too many now just case studies of people that thought they had completely independent systems. They had vulnerabilities they didn't know about, right? So I guess I'll support it, but my comment would be I'd prefer it to be a little lower and not be so centered. Okay.
And your point is very valid. We went into this planning process to open up this road grant funding, as well as to evaluate our hazards and what we could do about it, but that was the drivers.
Yep.
Right.
I've read the plan. I appreciate the not fairly, the considerable amount of work that went into developing it. I view it principally as a funding mechanism. I think that the hazard assessments that we do from an engineering perspective and a resource perspective are integrated into every design, every tank, every pipeline, every access road, looking at the flood risk, the fire risk, the hazard tree risk, the all the rest of it. That's kind of bread and butter of what we do. What I see this document as is communicating outward the that we are paying attention to these things, and state of California, you are pushing money out. It's a tax and spend state, so they bring the money in, but then they push it out, trying to make the world a better place. And California wants communities like ours to be prepared for disaster. They want to push money out, but they want to make sure that we are organized to receive those funds in a reasonable way and expend them. And I think that this will be a useful tool, quite a powerful one. In some ways, being distinct from the rest of the county gives us a little bit of specificity that's helpful also. So I think it's a good document and will advance our goals of bringing funds into our organization.
Okay. I view this more as a more global document to be able to position ourselves to the outside entities. I don't think that this is an implementation plan for here's the order of things that we're going to focus on to 1 versus 6, or because I think the input that you're getting from the board and the risks that we see on a month-to-month basis are different than this global document that we're looking at here. So just a comment.
I think you're referring more to, this is the hazard mitigation. We're talking more about an emergency response plan. Like, what do we do in case these things happen?
Yes, the more immediate, the emergency response plan. Yeah. Okay. I don't have any other questions on it or comment on it. It's a lot of work that's been put into it.
Yeah, ton of work.
Yeah. So far. So any public comment on this?
John Jameson, I tell everybody I meet that we live in a cosmic shooting gallery. And we have to pay attention to where all those bullets are coming from, or where we think they're going to come from, and be flexible in how we dodge the bullets. So I appreciate your flexibility and your plans to think ahead about the dangers of fire, which I've experienced particularly in the last few years. And I arrived after the earthquake, so I'm not as concerned about those, but I know they happen. And climate change, well, this is where you say the serenity prayer. So let's wish all ourselves luck.
Okay. I don't see anybody online. wishing to comment? I'll move that the board adopt the attached resolution adopting the San Lorenzo Valley Water District local hazard mitigation plan for the next 5 years.
I'll second.
President Smalley,
Yes.
Director Foltz,
Yes.
Director Largay,
Yes.
and Director Russ.
Yes.
Motion's passed.
Okay. Moving on then to the consent agenda. Does anybody from the board wish to pull anything on here to discuss? 9:15. Seeing none. District reports, the monthly finance report. Any?
Yeah, I'll try to keep it brief. Heather, I'm looking specifically at page 2. Well, I probably have the wrong page. It's your statement of revenues and expenses for the year ended June 30th, 25 and 24 in your
Okay.
report.
Yeah.
And is the total revenue number of 14,082,190. Does that include the roughly $1 million of CZU fire surcharge?
No.
No. Okay.
The 14,082,190 in fiscal year June 30th of 24, the fire recovery surcharge is down towards the bottom of the page in the
Okay.
capital section.
Okay. And so the 25 then would also not include it as well. That's almost 15 million.
14.98, and the fire recovery surcharge is again down towards the bottom with 995.28.
Okay. Do you recall if the rate study documentation that was assembled included the fire surcharge or not in the projections they were making for revenue and expenses?
Off the top of my head, I do not.
So that rate study for fiscal year 25 assumed that we would get 4.5 million in margin.
Okay.
And I'm assuming it's both operating and non-operating. And we're currently at about, let's see, 15 minus 11.7, 3.3.
Okay.
So I think once we get all of the employee contract negotiation completed, we get all the numbers reassembled, I think we urgently need to go back and review where we are relative to that rate study numbers, which was the basis for putting the rates together and assuming what our capital program was going to be. My sense here is we're going to fall way short. And that's not good news. As an agency, we tend not to look at history and learn from it. I'm hopeful that going forward here, we will do that in order for us to get really deadly serious about how much money we're going to be able to spend on capital. And whether or not the 19 million is even going to be sustainable from a borrowing point of view, if our margin is going to drop from 3.3 down to 2 or what have you. And we ought to do that before we spend a lot of time looking at borrowing process and the like. That would be my advice, recommendation. And that's all I've got on it for tonight. Not good news, guys.
Okay. We have some written communications in here. And other than that, we can adjourn.
Sorry. Deb Lowen's letter.
Deb Lowen, yes, very bottom.
Yes.
As a comment, you mean?
Yeah, I think hopefully everybody on staff knows that, and everybody knows that the Friends of San Lorenzo Valley Water, so-called, are not official organizations of the board or the district. That's all very clear. I think that's what Deb was trying to communicate, that if they're the marketing arm for the rate assistance program, that there may be some sense that they are in fact an adjunct to our organization. They are not. I suppose anybody can market rate assistance. But I think she was just concerned about the fact that at least historically, they've had a very, very tight relationship with district management.
Okay. I would like to adjourn the meeting.
I'll second.
Done.
Okay.
Good night, all.
Good night.
Thank you.